Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10, I think we're on now, of the UK League chat. This time we're joined once again by Tom Daniels. You must all know
Hello.
by now. More or less, like I said last time, more or less a co-host at this point. We're also lucky to be joined by XL UK coach TimKiro. Tim, you want to say hi?
Hey,
So,
thanks for having me on the show.
no problem. Thanks for coming on. So what we're going to mainly cover this episode is the final that just happened last weekend. Obviously, Tim's the XL coach, as good as anyone that we could talk to go through with the final and just chat about what happened, really. I'll just start with a bit about yourself, Tim. So you've only kind of recently got into the UK scene with XL, joined for the summer. Do you want to just tell us a bit how you actually got into coaching?
So yeah, well, I started playing this game League like season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing for a while, and then I was pretty high rated for a long while, and then I was always up there in the high elo, like higher elo, like when it was by a like numerical rating, I was like 1900 season 1, which is pretty good, and then like when Diamond and stuff came out, like I was always up there, but I like never really went pro. And then I did play some college stuff, but I never really took the time to like full all in or commit to pro. So during while I was going to university, I had a friend in Cloud9 who got me in as an analyst, and then I was also the coach for their challenger team at the time. So that was like 2014, and then I just been doing behind the scenes work for them for 2014 to 2016. When about the time when Reaper joined is when I was let go. And then shortly after that, one of a good friend of mine he got an offer to become the head coach of EchoFox, and then he asked me to be the assistant coach later that year, so 2016 still. So I was with him for EchoFox, and then we did that from 2016 to 2017. And things didn't go well with EchoFox, and then we were let go too. And then after that, I joined Team Liquid to do their academy coach for all of 2018. And then after that year, I decided that I was let go as well, and then we did 2019. The start of this year, I was planning on doing something else, but then Jarge, who I worked with in Team Liquid, asked me if I wanted to do Academy for Excel for spring. So I'm like, okay, sure, why not? So I gave it a shot, and then we barely missed EU Masters and stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm down to give it another try for summer, and here I am.
Oh, cool.
So.
What? One thing I wanted to ask just about kind of XL in general, especially coming into summer, because I think you could probably argue with spring maybe XL underachieved a bit. Obviously, everyone kind of thought it'd be XL and Fnatic as the top two, like they were this summer. But we had Diabolus kind of sneaking in there as well and reaching the final. But then I think XL kind of look like a different beast really in summer, especially certain players. You look at the likes of Sendo, where everyone kind of rated him sort of mid as low tier as a jungler, and he's stepped up. He looks like a completely new player. We'll get into it more, but Taxa, I think in the final especially, looked like one of XL's better players. So what was the kind of things you guys have been working on since you've joined there? To get them up?
Once I joined like I remember in spring in the middle of the split. So they just lost 2 weeks in a row. They were winless for 2 weeks in a row. Then I joined, and we went 1-1, and then the week after we got to we just did better afterwards. But then we didn't get enough points to get a decent seed to get out of Fnatic. Yeah, because Diabolus had all the points for some reason. What we worked on over the summer is, I think it was just a lot of it was just team identity. Just how we wanted to play the game, and then we just had a really concrete ideas of team comps of how we wanted to play the game, and we just kept playing that. Hjarnim was really good for the team as well. He added a lot of value and direction for the team, so I think those are the big things.
Was it kind of hard at all, kind of putting an identity on the team when you've got, because I know XL are kind of pushing the whole 10-man roster thing, saying that everyone trains together or scrims together and stuff. So is it a bit tricky to kind of have to feed off the main team at all, or?
No, you just get your 5 current players, and then you just decide what do you think what way do you think R5 should play the meta, and what's the best for us, and what are we good at and what are we bad at, and a lot of teams try to be super well rounded and say, oh, let's work on cover all our weaknesses, be good at everything, but I don't think that's necessarily good. when you play like towers, like the UK system, it's all about like how many team comps you can go through. I think that you're comfortable with, and that's what we like. You might notice like for every tower we had maybe 4 or 5 team comps that we're really comfortable with, and then we just depending on the bans we'll run a variation of each.
Do you think that mentality was like a big part in it, in terms of like you've got to have the right mentality for having a 10-man roster to kind of know that you might sometimes be playing in the UKLC? Did that ever play into it? Do you know that you needed to have mentally strong players? Because Shannon definitely seemed like someone who was mentally strong and willing to give it his all no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor. For most of these guys, like they just understand like they need to compete. They're here to compete, and they just love competing. So whether they're playing LEC or they're playing UK, they just still try their best.
Okay, cool. Because that's one thing we'd even said, I think maybe even on the show, when over the summer, as the roster changes happened, especially with Hyanan coming in, we kind of thought, okay, well, Hyanan's joined obviously to play with Kasing in the LEC, and really we didn't expect to see him at all in the UK. So I'd actually kind of wondered if there could be any motivation issues. But that's good. He kind of showed, I think, with his play through the split that wasn't really the case. So yeah, I think it even surprised me a little bit with that. I was pleasantly surprised.
Definitely.
No, he's it was a big coaching staff decision. We did a lot of discussions, and then we just ultimately decided that Jessica and Mystiques, we wanted to move forward with that roster for LEC, based on like a bunch of scrims and everything behind the scenes, right? So.
Fair enough. Let's jump into the final itself then. I was thinking just kind of go game by game really. So, game 1 was I think a great start for you guys. You got the kind of level 1 cheese or level 1 invade, which kind of looked like, I thought was a good move to try, because I think something the casters touched on was that a lot of the XL players I think had more experience, especially on stage as well, than Fnatic. So I thought that was kind of a nice start. I thought probably just kind of didn't help. I thought it might mess with Fnatic's mentality a bit. Obviously, like first few minutes they just give a kill away. Taxa was ahead, and the lead was growing. And it was, I think it was only a point where there was maybe like an overstay mid that kind of changed the game. What did you think on game 1? Was it, because the way I saw it, even though obviously Fnatic ended up winning the game, for it to be the first game in the series, of course the first loss is not the biggest importance out of a loss you could have in a best of 5, and I thought that performance-wise, for the good portion of the game, was still maybe something that came good from that for you guys. What did you kind of think about it?
Overall, that game I thought like we played as a team really well. A lot of stuff we did practice, but then I think the biggest problems was like there were a lot of individual mistakes I think that ended up costing us the game. Like overstaying mid, I think that was really bad, when it kind of felt like we were unclear of what we were trying to do, and then we got punished for it. And I thought that Fnatic played well in what they were supposed to do, but I was just unhappy with the openings we gave them, and then like what happened in our comms, right?
Yeah, because
we were pretty dominant throughout most of the game. We had control, and then we lost because of, I can think of like two key mistakes, overstaying mid, and then one time how we went after the second Baron.
Yeah.
So I would say those two things would be the biggest turning points for the game. Afterwards, I wasn't too worried.
Yeah. Oh, because you say about the comms, I did wonder if there could have been any, maybe if there was like, even just for a second, a bit of a communication issue. Because I think that one at mid as well, I think it was like Hyanan looked like he'd maybe been caught a bit. He rocket jumped out, and as he rocket jumped out, I think Taxa dashed in to shield him, and then just
that part I don't recall too much.
All right.
I don't recall that issue part. I think it's just like we're on stage, and then it was just like the shot calling was a bit off that day for sure. What we're trying to do, like we tried to hit an inhib as 3 after we make a pick, which I thought was kind of weird. Kasing should have been grouped up with us probably, and yeah. And then
I think from a neutral's perspective as well, if you look at it in terms of like, obviously it's the first game going into Twickenham. It was a great game. Like it went from a neutral perspective. If you look at it, it was a really good game, and I just have to say that having it at Twickenham, how was like the experience going into that first game? You know, knowing that you're going to be playing, at Twickenham? Because obviously with XL, it's kind of like a home, isn't it?
It wasn't really that big of a deal to us, to be honest. Like, I didn't think too much of it. It was like it would have been like any other stage. The fact that it was Twickenham was just nicer, I guess. That it was easier for us to go up and down, like to a review room and stuff. So that was nice, but overall, I didn't think too much of it.
Did the players think they could have had any advantage playing there? Like Tom said about it being kind of like the home ground, if you, like you say.
I mean, if we were playing in our practice room, I guess, but overall, no, I didn't think that we had like that big of an advantage. There were Fnatic fans there too as well. There was a lot of fans from both sides, so I didn't think of it as too much of a home ground advantage.
All right, fair enough. Let's take a look at Game 2 then. I think Game 2 was a bit more one-sided for Fnatic. There wasn't quite as much as the early lead that you got in the first game. What are your thoughts on that one? What do you think could have maybe gone differently for you guys?
Level 1 was really good for us. We burned Karma Flash level 1, so if you watch the first play of the game, it's us trying to kill the Karma with Yasuo. And Yasuo honestly should have been a kill. Yasuo Exile went for an EQ on the range creep to use the knockup instead of just EQing the Karma, who had no flash, and then it would have been just a straight kill. So with this comp, we're a bit more used to like getting early kills early on, and then we just I think we made after that play failed, we made a mistake like trying to enter river, and then it was just snowballed of individual mistakes. So in this one, I would say individual mistakes really trumped us, really got us. Like Exile missing the knockup on the Karma, Texture re-entering river after we failed to play, and then Hjarnan dying, was it, to the Aatrox? Because I think he auto one more time, and then like the W pulled him back in. So all these things kind of just added up. I was happy with the game that we just like no one really gave up, and we kept trying to like look for ways to get back into the game, but ultimately it wasn't enough.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing across the whole series as well. Across all the matches, like both teams are still going at it. I think it was a really great series to watch, as Tom says, like a neutral as well. No one really looked well, because this is one thing I wanted to ask as well, because you say about these kind of individual mistakes. I'd wonder, did you think could have been any nerves from any of the players at all?
Oh, for sure. I think there are nerves on both sides, for sure. Like you can see some regular season games online, and I feel like there were a lot less mistakes. Like on stage, there was a lot. Like there was that one time, and you just like randomly jumped into us and we killed them. Like there was a lot of times where just people get randomly caught out in the series. I think that doesn't usually happen as much. Yeah, like from what I like on my guys, like I see my guys, like we did some stuff like we didn't do in practice ever, and I mean we shouldn't be doing stuff we never do in practice, right?
Yeah.
It was just like random new ideas coming into our head, and we just try it, and for sure that's not how you want to play a series out.
Especially going obviously going 0-2 down, like, and you've had these mistakes. How was it kind of basically telling these players to go into obviously what would be game 3 and try and like do your best, because obviously it's match point at this point, so you would think that the pressure's on even more.
The big thing I told the guys is that don't worry about the individual outplay. Like we don't need to do individual outplays in this series. Like if you're watching the series, it's all about like whatever team sets up first and like plays as a team. And honestly, a lot of the series is just don't get picked, don't get caught randomly. Like there's so many things in the game. It's like I didn't even feel like we set up correctly. Like sometimes like there was one time like Angie just dashed into us. We're gonna take that kill if he does that, right? Exile went for like a 1v1 like in our Raptors as Syndra's, and then he got soloed by Magic Felix, like stuff like that. Like we don't need to do these individual outplays. Just set up the map and like do what we do normally, and we'll probably like that's our best chance of winning.
Just try and go back to basics, isn't it? Focus on what you know that you're good at, and stick with it, really.
Because like I just saw like both sides are nervous, both sides are like dying randomly, like doing stupid stuff. It's like the team that does the least amount of these mistakes and just focuses on what needs to be done will win.
Fair enough.
And we brushed off this, like the first game and second game, like we brushed off because like it was just like some of the dumbest things we ever seen. It was like this should not happen, and like we could still beat them. So we were going into game 3 and 4. I felt pretty confident about winning.
Yeah, and had reason to be. Obviously, game 3 then you guys did win, and this is it. It kind of looked to me like the confidence was like even like the nerves and things were going away, because I think XL, one thing I don't know really how to describe. One thing that differs, I think, XL from Fnatic is that XL throughout the regular season played with like a bit more of like a swagger than Fnatic did, especially with the flexing and stuff. It looked like it was kind of like the G2 of the UKLC, if you could kind of say it like
the
that.
way we wanted to play is like we sat down. We really wanted to like be aggressive in our playstyle, and like we wanted to be in command of the game. Like, not to throw shade at like at Fnatic this split, and although near the end they started doing less of it, and Diablo's last split were just scaling teams that just wait for the other team to make the mistake, and we didn't like want to play that way where we're just like scaling. We just wanted to play a way where like we get an early lead and then like play out the game like really fast and like really aggressively against these teams.
Yeah.
I think we saw that in the first game, and the third game we kind of did that for the most part. The second game, unfortunately, we got snowballed on pretty hard.
But yeah, this, like I say, this third game where I kind of thought I saw that coming back as well, and I think this was the one where I think Hyanan was propping off quite a bit.
Yeah, 11, 3, and 7, I think it was.
And Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa? Yeah, Kai'Sa.
Yeah, because this
unbelievable game from him, I think.
This was one where on the cast they were kind of saying like, oh, we just want to see Hyanan back on a normal ADC and all this. But did you think that was necessary? Because he played Kai'Sa game 4 as well, and didn't have quite as much success. So do you kind of agree with that kind of sentiment that he needed to just go back to a normal one? And
kind of. I didn't think it was like I didn't really think he played poorly that much this series. I think game 4 was I think we played the game incorrectly. We tried to play around, like we didn't play around Hyanan enough, simply enough. When he's on Kai'Sa, like Kai'Sa is not good, and then we roamed out of lane a bit too much for topside. And when we like the way we were really dominant in these games is like we pick Pantheon, we still ball off bot really hard, and then he gets really fed and carries the game. But right now, what happened was like we push out bot, and then like they kind of roam, and then he can't do anything 1v2, and then like why did we pick Kai'Sa anyways, right? So I think the way we played that game was really out of all 4 games we played, I think that was like the worst we played. Game 4.
But yeah, just back on game 3 a bit as well. This is another one kind of carrying on from what we were saying earlier, where Sendo has shown a lot of improvement this split. This was his Gnar game. I think it was like his ult mid. There was like a huge fight as well. What was there anything you gave him specifically to work on like over the split to have seen him improve so much?
No, I think he just like last split he was a bit like there's always the weak and strong side that he has to play, and then like we worked a lot on his weak side because just the way we want to play is like we want to play around here, especially when we're in like Pantheon and like Kai'Sa, you know, like those are like bot. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, sorry, my computer just like went to sleep mode, so I had to shake it up. So, like we want to play around him, right? And even with Tristana, like you notice how we want to like snowball his lane really hard and play around that. So we just told him like it's gonna be hard. You're gonna be on an island sometimes, and some teams are gonna like camp top, and like we're gonna get more out of bot lane out of it, or in some teams are just gonna leave you on an island, and you're probably good enough to beat the other guy if you're left on an island.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of trust he has for the rest of the team to do their job, for him to play the way he needs to play.
Yeah. Because I think he looked really confident as well. There was I think it was like the 1v1 Bando on Kled where he just totally outplayed him. I think that was one where Exile had TP'd in to secure it, but like he got him anyway. So yeah, I was really impressed with him through the whole split really, and especially that game.
Yeah, he's been solid. He's really, really good at playing the weaker side of the map. I noticed a lot of UK teams like play around their top laner a lot, and he did really good job absorbing pressure and like making sure not to give anything.
Yeah, because I think that was kind of one of the not really arguments against him, but one of the things I think some people might have thought was kind of that player where he would have a lot of good games, but then his not as good games would be quite telling, and that's definitely something that looked like he'd got rid of in his game was those off matches.
Oh yeah, for sure. This split he's been great. I think I didn't really feel like there was any top laner that was actually better than him going into every match. Like I thought Shikari is pretty good, like could match him for some stuff, but overall I didn't think anyone's actually better than him. Like there's a lot of hyped top laners, like Zergoff was hyped. Let me pull up the list.
Only Angel.
Yeah, all these players are hyped, and I really didn't think they were that good.
And just to have a look at like Taxa, especially in that game 3, I think he went 5-0-16, was it?
16,
Something
yeah.
like that.
Was he
On
Jarvan?
J4.
Yeah.
Yes, the J4.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable performance from him, but it really kind of showed that he's not just kind of a utility jungler as well. I think that was what was coming in like from Spring Split
I mean, he's
is
been
he a
spamming Lee
utility
Sin
jungler? It's a lot more than that.
He's been spamming Lee Sin every game. I don't think Lee Sin's utility jungle, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
He plays Lee Sin, he played Olaf for us, he played Jarvan.
That's what I mean.
overall
Coming
the
into
suit.
this split, it was a lot. He was a lot more aggressive. It was a lot more of an aggressive style of jungle. I think we saw this split, and it really showed his true ability. Like I think again, a little bit like Sendo, people were kind of underrating Taxa. I wonder if it was just because of the spring performances, but he really came into it in the summer.
I mean, I think the big thing is like we sat down, we decided like how we wanted to play the game, and we just went for it. When I first came in spring, I wasn't too sure of how I wanted to work with that team, and to be honest, I was quite rusty myself because I haven't like touched the game in like a month, so I had to like relearn the game myself for a bit, and like I only had like 2-3 weeks before we made playoffs, and then we ended up against Fnatic, which was unlucky. Because they're actually a good team, and then for this split, like I just thought about it, and then we had a lot more time to prepare. So I think a lot of this is just like us being able to practice properly as a team.
Cool. Yeah, game four we kind of touched on already, really. Like you said, probably I think it was the more one-sided. It was the quickest game by quite far as well.
It's definitely the most disappointing one for us.
Yeah.
We're showing.
It's a bit of a shame because that's when you kind of thought, obviously, after you guys got the game 3 momentum, thought might have been swinging. It could have been on for a game 5, but just unfortunate that we didn't get that really. There's not really much more to touch on, I don't think, on the final. Then, what did you think of kind of the venue and stuff in general? Have you been at sort of many LANs and things before?
Yeah, I have. I thought the venue was fine. Looked good. Overall, like couldn't really complain.
Yeah.
From our setup, like from backstage point of view to where I thought you guys were sitting, I thought everything was run pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually on time as well, so I was quite impressed.
Yeah, because
it generally doesn't
like
happen.
a lot of lands, you know, they just go like late, you know, a bunch of delays, a lot of tech issues, but we did have a ping issue at the start, but they resolved it like 2 hours before the game was done, or started, so I was happy with that.
I think the only issue I remember being there was like in the middle of one of the games they just had a black screen for like 30 seconds or something randomly.
I didn't notice that.
it was I think it was on the broadcast as well. You could hear the match and you could hear the casters, and then just no one could see the game for like 30 seconds. Not really sure what that was, but for that, because it was, I think, especially since LVP have taken over the UK League, I think that was the first LAN they've been. So I think for the first one they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think LVP did a great job display. Production overall was pretty good. There was one day where we had a lot of like delays, which was annoying, but overall I can't really complain. What
were your thoughts on the playoff format? That was a bit of a drama about that when that came about.
I thought the gauntlet was like the most balanced way to do it. I actually thought that was really the most balanced way. I would criticize the regular season format a lot more than the playoff format. I thought the playoff format was fine. I don't like the side selection, how they do side selection. Like loser chooses a side. Which is
because it was in the final, am I right in thinking it was the winner chose a side for the main final on Sunday?
No. So like winner chooses game 1, and then after whoever loses each game chooses the next one.
Oh right.
Which I really didn't like because every other league, like all the premier or all the world leagues, right? The ones that qualify the worlds, they always do like 1-3-5 versus 2-4. Like how you select, and then it was like, even especially like games that are really like down to the wire, like you don't know if you're choosing a side or not, kind of thing, and like what to prepare for, so it's really confusing.
I think it keeps it consistent as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So. It keeps it consistent. Like in between game 1 and 2, like I wasn't sure if I'm choosing a side. Like I'm thinking about like what I want to talk to my players, and then I'm like, okay, now I gotta think about like what side I want, or is he gonna choose what side? You know? So it's just really annoying.
So did you have to go in with kind of like 2 game plans with each game essentially?
Yeah.
And be like, if it's red, then it's if it's blue, and it's this. That's difficult. That is difficult.
It's really annoying. So like I was like, okay, I guess we lost, and then like I quickly wrote up a draft. I'm like, okay, we had 3. Here are 3 options. Like, what are we confident doing? Like, this is how we'll ban if we're gonna do each scenario. And then
Mad.
Yeah, and I imagine game 1 then that was probably the worst one, where you kind of looked like you were going to win as well.
But after game 3, it's like, okay, they choose now. I have no choice anymore, so at least that was easy. But
Yeah.
I like being able to choose. Like, I'd rather just choose 2 and 4, and he chooses 1, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
Keeping it consistent makes it easier for sure.
So then, what were your kind of your thoughts on the split in general? Because I'd imagine the aim probably I'd guess would have been to win the whole thing. But then you knew if Fnatic were on their game, then that was going to be hard as well. So, is there anything any regrets for the split in general? Well, we've still got a little bit left for the champions and that, but
not too much.
No.
Well, we came out, we competed, we made EU Masters. I'm not too worried about like first or second.
Was that the ultimate goal then? Was EU Masters, whether it was play-ins or it was great?
It was just EU Masters for us mainly. Wasn't too stressed about it. Like the format is just like wasn't a good format. Like the tower format is just not good. Double round robin's definitely the best way to go. Keeps it consistent. Like it's like some of the lower level teams, like for example Barrage, they played 6 games in the entire, or 8 games in the entire split. Well, we played like 8 games in 2 weeks. So it was just really inconsistent, and I just didn't like it.
I do agree with you, and at least like with the Gauntlet format, it did give kind of every team, apart from obviously the 2 relegated teams, a chance to at least work their way up, and it happened with Feeling, didn't it? At the end of the day,
really close. They almost made EU Masters from tied from 7th to EU Masters. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, they had to do a relegation playoff, and then next thing you know, against Origins.
I mean, I think they did really well though. I think they were the team that attacked what was it, 9-17 match? Was it 9-17 or 9-16? No, it was 9-16.
16.
Oh, yeah.
16? They attacked the patch, like the current patch, or the patch, because playoffs came around and then there was a new patch, and I think they did the best job out of any team.
Yeah, they definitely worked hard on it. Like, they definitely.
I think they were willing to take. I think they were willing to take risks and like try different things. Like they're running Ziggs bot. Like what else were they running? Syndra. Like let me pop up their match history. KLC.
Just while you do that for a second, outside of like the academy teams, then were there any teams which kind of surprised you, or you're kind of not flaming, but kind of like you said were really good, or did you over expectations or were underachieved in your opinion?
From the UK League?
Yeah.
Everyone was. I mean, I don't know the players too well in the Europe scene, but then everyone was hyping up Barrage. And I'm like, okay, I guess they might be decent, and then they turned out to be pretty bad. Diablos, I thought they might do better, but then I realized they swapped a lot of their players out. So, M&M did okay, I guess.
Would you have considered this then easier than what it was in spring then, overall with the competition? No.
Actually, maybe. It's about the same, I think.
Or was it more the fact that XL underachieved in spring?
I think we underperformed a lot in spring. I would say that. Like I didn't think the level got that much better. Like some players, like the only player that kind of came to mind that like left UK was like Mumus.
Yeah,
Mumus, and I heard he was pretty decent. Like he did pretty well. But overall, like the teams were. I thought all of them were kind of like at the same level. I didn't think they were that much further apart. I was impressed with the 2 new teams though.
Demise and
Envision.
Envision,
yeah, they did pretty well considering like their new teams, and just came in, and I thought Demise did. You know, they competed.
Well, they were completely like a solo queue team essentially, which came in, and then the fact that they did that off what most of the time was raw skill. Really shows how good individual players they were.
Yeah. Like Enclave and Feline to me in the regular season were just the same team. Funny enough, we never played Demise or Envision. We never matched up against them.
The 2 teams you said were good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they posted results, right? Like we played, we beat down Barrage, Feline, and Enclave several times.
So again, would you have liked to have played like Demise and Envision, like, and it been like?
Yeah, I would love to. I like to play every team at least once, but this format, guess we just dodged them every time, and we got kind of lucky too. There's some weeks. There was like 2 weeks in a row where we were first seed. Yeah, we were first seed, so we just played blue side the entire tower, which I thought was just giga imbalanced because like that weekend scrims, like, okay, I guess we're just practicing blue side.
And so that obviously gives you a massive advantage, doesn't
That's
it?
a huge advantage, and that's just RNG, right? Like we didn't do anything to deserve them drawing number 1. It just happened, which I thought was like a huge flaw in the system again.
So do you think it should get changed then, coming into like next spring?
I think it should get changed, and I heard it was in the works, but we'll see. Yeah, like what I would like to see if they were to actually change the system is like after the first round, like you get the 8 teams that play. After the first round, you take the bottom 4 and have them play against each other still, just to get like a 5 through 8 ranking, just so they play more games.
Or could you do like a losers bracket?
Yeah, I think something like that. Like I don't think like a full losers bracket, but at least like play for 5th. Play for 5th.
Yeah.
Something like that to keep them playing.
I think there's even, I don't know, Tim, if you watch football or soccer too, in the Scottish League they do a thing similar to that. I think they play like half a season more or less, and then halfway through it gets split top half and bottom half, and then they play each other, and yeah, that sort of thing. So that could be better, because especially one thing I felt really bad for the kind of lower teams, if you are losing and then you come, okay, next week this is going to be our week, you train all week, and then if you lose that first game again, that's it, that's your chance gone for a whole nother week. Like there's no way you can pick momentum back up.
Exactly, and it's just like demoralizing.
Yeah,
and that's why it took some teams like 4 weeks to even get into the rhythm of things. It was really like normally by the second week you're like everybody kind of knows where they are, but some teams like especially like Barrage, like the 4th really week was just difficult. Yeah,
I mean, Barrage, like I'm looking at their history, they had to play M&M week 1. Oh no, sorry, XL, then M&M, then they played Phelan and Envision, so that was like winnable, and then they had to play XL again, and I guess they can't come back from that.
Brutal.
It just sucks for them.
Let's go on then to EU Masters. We hinted about it earlier. So you're in the plains. I'm just looking at the format now. So there's XL and there's 6 other teams, and the top 3 are going through. So are you fairly confident of seeing the teams?
Yeah, based on our scrim results with these teams, that we scrimmed them regularly. Like we scrimmed the top teams of every other league regularly, and like just based on our past results, I think we'll do fairly well. I expect us to come out. Yeah, I expect us to come out. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we came first in the group.
What teams out of the plains do you think look tougher? Just having a look myself, I'd imagine I figured probably Origin and Rogue.
Rogue definitely looked like
Origin and Rogue came to mind, but Rogue kind of like spiraled downwards after, like they had a really good start and then they finished quite poorly, if I recall.
Oh right, I'm not too sure, because I know that a lot of their players ended up in the LEC as well, didn't they? So I'm not sure, maybe that could have had a bit of an effect on their academy side as well.
Yeah, they lost to Devils. Yeah, Devils won during their season, and I'm not sure how good the Polish league is in general, to be blunt. Like a lot of these teams are not the greatest, I would say.
Just off you saying that, then, where would you rank like the UK scene in terms of like the talent which is in opposed to the other ones? Obviously, you probably don't have as much knowledge about the others, but just in your opinion, just by gauging off it.
Does this include XL and Fnatic? Because
yes, XL and Fnatic.
You get a really skewed view, because it's just like the way like our league worked, right? There was the 7 teams, and then there was the 2 of us.
So in terms of like the 2 teams which are going into EU Masters, then, because they're the ones which really like
we're good.
matter.
Like we can compete. Like like every other like team that I see in the main event, like we can compete easily. I think Fnatic and us, like we can compete with Giants, LDLC, Mouse Sports, Devils One, like all these teams, like for sure we can compete with. Then I kind of look down to like For the Win, CP Sparks, Diffuse Kids, like all these, like I would say the teams that are not in like the German, French, Spanish league, and even the Polish league, like every other team didn't really feel like they were that great. So I think Fnatic and us both have a really good shot at winning this tournament. I wouldn't say we're behind it by any means.
And we're guaranteed a new winner anyway, because Misfits didn't qualify, so at the end of it.
Yeah, the French league, like French, German, Spanish, and Polish. I guess the 2 representatives from Poland were pretty good, and UK. Like Those 5 regions, I think, are like the competitive ones. The rest are kind of, I don't think they'll go too far.
Is there anything you guys are working on for EU Masters, or is it just kind of consolidating what you've been building so far?
Like it's a new patch too. Learn the new patch a bit. 917. I think play-ins is 917, and then the main event's 918. We see what happened. Like there's some changes this patch, nothing too big, and you'll probably see what we have cooked up. I mean, we're definitely refining what we used to play as well, and just making sure we can keep playing everything we can, and we just add a bit more.
And obviously, with being in the play-ins, it's kind of a positive and a negative, isn't it? Because it's a negative because obviously you have to try and qualify, but if you're confident in yourself, then you should be able to qualify for the main event. But it's also a positive in the sense that you actually get more games time, don't you? And you get to gel more together and see what's happening.
The game time's really important, and it's just if you like some of these teams qualified like LDLC qualified like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, or some crap like that, you know. And then you're just sitting around, you're not doing anything, and it's such a waste of time. Like buys are nice, like in playoffs, like if you watch LEC and stuff, like buys are nice, but then when you're just sitting, like when you have 1 extra week of practice without competing, it's just so taxing.
Yeah.
You know, and like if that 1 week goes wrong, you can like you have 10 more days to go, and it just kind of goes to shit. Whereas if you have like 4 days, 1 day goes wrong, you're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna play the game and see how that goes. And like I think like 1 day going wrong can definitely spiral out of control to like a week going wrong. Yeah.
I think that's kind of a similar like momentum argument people have. Like if you look at the kind of gauntlet formats, like in the LCK, where you've got Griffin like twice in a row, they get straight to the final, and then they've got to sit there and wait for 3 weeks without playing a match, and then by that time momentum's gone. Yeah.
No, just having your players sit around and scrimming, like scrimming is not good. If you're not competing in like 10 days and you're just scrimming nonstop, it's just not worth it.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that the team which won it, Misfits last split, was the team which came through play-ins and benefited. I think they hit the ground running straight away. I think
every team, every play-in team made top 4 outside. So Misfits, Mad Lions, what's the name? SK. All 3 of them went from play-ins.
Yeah, I think Fnatic were the only team which didn't, because it was Diablos. Yeah.
So we're not too like bummed out about playing, and if we lose, we lose, right? If we're gonna win, we just care about like making, or we just care about winning. And if we can't make it out of play-ins, then we don't deserve to win, you know. So I'm more happy that we get to play in like a few days rather than having to wait like an extra week, because I don't like having that much downtime.
And I think there's not even that long between the stages, is there? So you play, what is it, like 7? Oh no, wait.
9 to 12.
Yeah,
9 to 12.
so you play
9 to 11 if you skip the 12th day and you're automatically in, and then so 9 to 12, and then you play again on the 16th.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just like do play-ins, because just sitting around and waiting is so boring.
Is it?
And I think it's just. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, is there do you not think it would be better just to keep it on the same patch? Isn't it? That's obviously what they do. Like bigger things like Worlds and that would be on the same patch. You get that. You get the kind of they call it like tournament meta, where things can develop as it goes on. But then if you're sitting, you're obviously in play-ins on 9/17, and then a week later, by that time you've got to be playing on the next patch already. That doesn't seem to make too much sense to me.
I think it prefers to be on the same patch, but I get kind of bored, so I'm always down for a new patch.
Gives you something extra to do, doesn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't mind too much playing a new patch, like unless like that patch is just too game breaking or too game changing. But usually like the patches have been pretty tame. You know, this last one, like everything I look in the patch notes seems pretty tame. There's like an Aurelion soul change, Kale rework again. And, you know, Lucian got 3 more 80. Like I don't think it's too big. You know. So.
One thing I wonder as well, slightly off topic, but I don't want to forget to ask, is how much does Hyanan actually practice Heimerdinger? Because it seems like just any time it's up, he can just take it. He's done it like different patches, seemingly like slightly different metas, but he'll just take it any time.
We practice it.
Yeah.
Like the way we do practice is like we practice a bunch of team comps, so there's some variations with Heimer, and we just like play. Like obviously we're not gonna spend a whole day on it.
Yeah.
Like maybe in a week we'll play like maybe 3-4 times, and that's usually enough, because based on like every other week, like we remember like what we need to do, how we need to draft for it, all that stuff.
Do you reckon anyone's going to let him have it?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think there definitely will be. Yeah, somewhat because
like,
everybody likes to try and beat
the
him.
main thing is like for example, Yasuo was our best champion for the longest time, and like we didn't lose a single game on Yasuo, and like even in scrims we're just demolishing everyone with it, and then we're like, there's no way we get it, and then they're like, we shouldn't practice. I'm like, we can commit like one game every 2 days to it, and like we do just to maintain the skill, remember how to play it, and funny enough, we get a Yasuo, and some of our later weeks, I'm like, okay.
Well, because that thing you hear where players are like, no, it's fine, I can do it, I just have to play this thing will work. And if they do it and they do it and then they lose, and then it's like, no, if it wasn't the pick though, I did something wrong, or I could have done this.
I don't know, like teams just like give us a bunch of different things. Like for example, Yuumi gets banned against us a lot, and I think our win rate on Yuumi is actually pretty low. Like even on stage, you know? So I'm just like, okay. Like they'd rather play like into Yasuo than Yuumi. Like Yasuo balling instead of Yuumi, even though we pretty much win every game with Yasuo balling.
Well, they give Sendo Gnar every game.
Yeah, we just practice like a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Gnar we don't practice too much. I'll say that we don't practice too much Gnar. I mean, we practice a bunch of different champions for top.
Is there you got anything up the sleeve that's ready to be whipped out in the EU Masters?
I think so. But I think a lot of these EU Masters teams don't exactly know how we play, so they'll have to do a bunch of research to figure it out. Like Fnatic, I think out of any team that knows how to beat us will be Fnatic, right? They spent the most time. Like every week, it was like prepping to beat each other. That was it for us.
How much have the Excel staff then been looking into these other teams? Is it going to be sort of adapting to a tool to play against these other guys, or just
no, like our analysts have been on it. Like once the playing teams got announced, they've done all their work. Like we have a good idea what they run, like what they're good at. Like yeah, we have a good idea.
Cool. I think that's pretty much all I had. I think we're.
I do have one question to say. So when it comes to like scrims and practicing, you scrim a lot with the LEC team, I believe, don't you? Did you ever scrim with like other UKLC teams or other teams?
We never scrim any. Like we have never scrimmed a UK team, except we will scrim Fnatic soon because we're guaranteed not to play them until until the quarters, you know.
So does that give you like a really big benefit? Obviously, coming into EU Masters, there's not all academy teams which are in there. So do you think it gives you the benefit that you've got that automatic scrim partner who can you can test and work around with?
Oh, there's just a bunch of players. Like there's like the thing about Europe that I've noticed is like there's always a team to scrim. Like we can also scrim like Russian teams, right? They're pretty good too. Like and we have no problems like scrimming them. Like they're not in the same league as us. Some Turkish teams as well. So there's always going to be a team to scrim for us.
Okay.
But it's nice to scrim Fnatic too. We haven't scrimmed them before, but we're excited to do that.
Will it be Fnatic Rising or Fnatic the main team?
Oh, Rising, Fnatic Rising.
Oh, Fnatic Rising, okay.
Yeah. One thing I wonder as well, is there a chance there'd be any roster moves at all? Because I don't think the main team really got anything to do now, have they, for the rest of the season?
None of the players on that roster are eligible.
Oh, okay.
I'll cut that out. Like none of them are eligible. They play too many LEC games.
I didn't know.
You need to play like more than 14 makes you unable to play EU Masters.
Okay.
Oh. I mean that's good. That does stop the possibility.
So there's no possibility of any of the LEC guys coming down.
Just swap 5 for 5 and just walk the whole thing.
Yeah, I can certainly say there's 0% chance that any of them are playing.
Was there a thought to put any in for the UK final? I know I was there. I know like Expect and Mickey were there on the day.
Oh no, they can't. They're not allowed.
Are they not? What even?
Yeah. Like ERL, like once they played their final game, they were ineligible.
Ah.
So there was zero thought of it. Like once they play 14 LEC games, they are not allowed to do EU Masters or UKLC.
Oh, okay.
So when building like a 10-man roster, then do you have to take into account how many games if you want to kind of play them in the LEC and test them, but also play them in the UKLC? You've got to kind of balance it, really.
You have to find that balance. One big thing is just like we started picking up momentum near the end of the split with the LEC team, so we decided like, hey, let's just fully commit to it and see what we can do. Right? We got a few wins, but unfortunately, like we couldn't keep it up, and then we ended up last again. but it looked good for a while.
Yeah.
Some games look promising, you know.
I think there was loads of games. Even in spring, it happened a bit with the main team. I thought where they played well, but they just couldn't quite win. They certainly didn't look like useless at any point. It's not like Jin Air over in Korea or something where they literally just lose every game. XL were always putting up a fight, I think, in every match.
Yeah, for the most part, I felt like that way too. They were doing well. We beat Splice. They were like ranked 3rd, and like looked like we had a shot. We almost beat Fnatic too. So
I think there was one in
how it panned out.
Yeah, I think there was one in spring as well, like against G2, where I think XL were ahead for a long time. So it could have happened, which is unfortunate in the end, I think. Is there anything else you want to go over, Tom?
I just want to gauge really, like how important is EU Masters, or do you feel like EU Masters is for your organization, for the organization as a whole, really?
I think it's pretty big. We're pretty committed to it. Our guys, like, we've been here several weeks already. Like, Charna and Kasing, when they started the LEC bootcamp, which was like early May, middle of May, so they've been here a long time, right? And we all talked about it, like, hey, we're here already. We qualified. Let's just make the most of it. You know, what's another 2 weeks of competing?
And it gives them a platform to boost themselves into. A lot more people watch EU Masters than what they watch the UKLC. Let's be honest. So it gives them a chance to kind of show at least Europe what they're capable of.
Yeah. I know Taxer Special and Exile and Sendo are all looking forward to it.
Are you gonna keep swapping out the mid lane then? Do you think? Or is there like a limit of how many players you're allowed to register or anything?
I don't know, but both of them are on the roster for sure.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think that may as well bring it to a close then. I don't think there's too much more that I wanted to go over. Been good having you on, Tim. Nice to have a chat and kind of get your ideas on the final.
Thanks for inviting me.
And good luck for E-Masters, obviously, as well.
Thank you very much.
I think I speak for Tom as well, saying we'd want to see both XL and Fnatic in the final. Bring it home for the UK.
For sure. We definitely want to beat them again, or play them again.
Yeah, that'll be wicked. There hasn't been any news yet, has there, on where the final is?
Is it Madrid?
I heard, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say.
Okay.
But it should be announced soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, the latest I saw is just on them. I think on the website it just says, announced soon. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
I think it's a country. Let me see.
I thought it was Madrid, but I might be wrong.
I couldn't see that it was announced. Let me check.
I don't know if I just randomly thought that, but
no, I can't see anything.
I would say, but I don't want to get in trouble for it.
Yeah, you don't want to get. No, don't get in trouble.
That's fine.
We don't want to ruin XO's chances, right? We don't want to be capable of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's announced yet though, but I'm sure it'll be announced soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't think it has been yet. All right, no worries then. We won't get you in any trouble. Don't worry about that. So yeah, good luck then. And like I say, thanks for coming on. Been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thanks, Tom, for coming on once again.
You're welcome.
I think, Tom, everyone knows where they can find you by now, don't they? So,
at the Tom Daniels, at Gromp News. I do have a podcast now, a Teamfight Tactics podcast. It's the Gromp News TFT podcast. So it's just a couple of mates just chatting about TFT. And I'm actually pretty decent at it. Not great, but I'm decent enough to be talking about it, I feel now. So, that's Gromp News TFT podcast. That's on Spotify. About that's it. Yeah, Gromp News at the Tom Daniels. Yeah, the same spiel.
Nice one. And Tim, do you know when XL's first game is? We can advertise that a bit.
We play on the 12th? No, 7th, sorry. 9th? 9th
I believe it starts at the 9th.
9th, I think we're first game on the alternate stream.
Mm-hmm.
Check my calendar.
Yes, you were against Falcon.
Yeah, we're against Falcon and then Big.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon at 6 and then Big scheduled at 10.
Good stuff. Good luck.
Oh, I should also check if those times are in CST or BST. I think it's CEST.
It could be useful to know.
Yeah.
You don't want to be an hour late, like, or an hour early, whatever.
I think I need to edit that. Now that.
All right. Good stuff then. Thanks for coming on, guys. For anyone else that wants more of UK League chat, you can follow NineTeeSix on Twitter at NineTeeSix. If you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, you can subscribe and follow on there as well. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening.